Good morning, and it's time to talk about cross stitch. I am Karen and I am the Stitching Owl coming to you from London, Ontario, Canada, where actually we are having a melty rainy day. So Leigh, yes, your favorite kind of day it is. We are not under the misguided thought that we're never going to have more snowflakes in the air. But the delightful thing is that our snowbanks are definitely getting smaller. I want to say hello and welcome to anybody that is new. I hope that I show you something that gets you excited about your stitching and that you might even want to stitch along with some of my projects or even join in some of my stitching time online. To those of you who have kept coming back time after time and leave me such love in your messages, I don't have words to convey what you mean to me. It is such a privilege to be able to cross stitch and to be able to get to know each and every one of you. We are living in a world where when the next day happens and we're surprised by a new, the only word I can come up with is atrocity at times. We seek solace in our friendships, our stitching, and our family, all that add together to be love. So let's set aside what's going on outside our houses right now and have this special time together. Now, I did want to start with a couple of pseudo announcements, just because if I don't do them now, I'm going to forget. For those people that are were part of our New Year's Day Stitch Together, the Stitch 26 that Alison of Mrs. AZ Family Zoo and I coordinated, we have set up another emailing process to alert you that the third Sunday of the month is when we are planning on continuing with our get-togethers, because there is definitely interest in continuing to stitch together, and we love that. Now, we're only offering one time in the day, not multiple times as we did on New Year's Day. It will be 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is my time zone, and it ends up to be morning for Alison, I believe, and later in the day for our friends in Britain and the UK and such. So if you are interested, and even if you're on the mailing list, I need you to email me directly at the email included in the description box so that I know to include you on my list of who to send invites to. I don't publish a generalized invite for everybody to just find on something like Facebook. By doing this, Alison and I do not have any challenges with non-stitchers trying to join the group to cause a little bit of interest that isn't stitchy. So you can email me anytime in the next couple of weeks, and I will make up the list for the Stitch Together. So that was announcement number 1. A generalized comment is we are freshly out of the Olympics. It's been a little over a week. And for many of us, it was a time for stitching together, stitching along with a wonderful set of prompts by the Nap Time Stitcher and other things that we might be trying to do, like winter stuff. I wonder what Lola is wanting. There she goes. Lola will be 17 in about 6 weeks, so we keep an eye on her if she starts to hesitate. I have decided that in today's video, I'm not going to revisit every prompt by the Nap Time Stitcher. I feel that there's been quite a few Flosstubers who have done this, and that I might end up with a very, very lengthy Flosstube if I started to do everything. So my approach to today's Flosstube is going to actually be different, and I'm going to explain that momentarily. I'm going to say up front, over the last 3 weeks, I have been playing around with my Carolyn Manning fairy garden, and I literally, on one of my attempts, I have started it more than once, I had it 100% wrong. Every motif had an error. I have tried different kinds of threads, and at this point, I'm just going to say, for now, I'm stepping back from my Carolyn Manning project, which was part of what I'm doing with Stitching for Magazines with Amy, but it was also supposed to be part of the Manning in March Sal. And I think what I need to do is to take at least a week off. And then for me, I actually want the full coverage Mannings, not the ones that are motifs a little bit everywhere that for some reason I am completely challenged to count. So I will continue to do Stitching for Magazines. I will try more Manning in the future. It's just a temporary stop, and that particular project isn't a Karen-friendly project. I just want to also alert you in general that I'm very excited that this weekend is going to be a Mary, Laura, and I are keeping our favorite challenges alive on months when Whip Warriors are running something different. In the months where they are running something like the Connections or the Whip Frenzy, we are joining in with the official group. On the other months, we are just doing it amongst ourselves and for ourselves in a way that we just embrace the fun of stitching, which the three of us decided that that's what it is about for us. It's not about competition. And while we love to get as many stitches in as possible, it's just what we can do on that weekend. There's Lola upstairs. It seems that there's somebody walking by. So we do encourage you to stitch along and to understand that if weekends are family focused for you and you would rather do something like your frenzy on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when people are back at school and you don't have appointments, you do you. That's what this is about. We want to support you having the best fun you can have with your stitching. So if you'd like to reach out to us, any of us on Instagram or on our Flosstubes, we are often stitching together and would happily stitch with you. Okay, going to leave that for now and say, okay, so normally at this point, I jump in with fully finished objects, then finished objects, and then my works in progress. But today, we recently had a Connections weekend, Laura, Mary, and I. And so I'm actually going to be presenting my projects in the order that I stitched them for this particular event. And then I actually was bright and brought my note-keeping binder down. But I didn't keep bring my other book. Okay. I know that within the Connections, I ended up stitching more than 1,200 stitches that weekend. That seems low. I was happy with what I achieved. Let's just leave it with that. So with Connections, what our challenge is to start with a word that is picked by one of us or the committee as a totality, and then to find a word to connect to the next thing that you're going to stitch on without repeating a past word. Now, I admit that I actually used this in my recent Canada chat stay, and people looked at me initially thinking, I don't have a hope of connecting. I asked them to just write down 10 random works in progress that they have, and if they didn't have that many, to just write down titles of things that they had stitched in general. And then to actually be asked to connect them, they did not think that it was physically possible. And then almost all of them were successful in getting through all of the connections to the point that I had to go with the closest birthday to find the prize for the day. And congratulations to Lisa, because there was no late February, any in March. It was early April that we got to before somebody went, yeah, it's me. But we had fun. So the word we had to begin with was snow. So my first project was Seasonal Circle by Little Dove Designs on Etsy. And this is the season winter. In a month's time, you'll be seeing me stitch on spring. Will I have winter done? I guess we'll find out together, because I don't know. But this particular stitch is 140 by 140 and has 11 DMC colors. I am stitching this on 20 count bootleg by Roxy Floss Co. And I am stitching this with Mary. So this is where I got to, and I've got to say, I just love this piece. Look at how well those white, I think that these are snowdrops and the snowflakes. Look at how well that they show up. So I'd say I've got about 1/3 of the outer rim. It's like this is a plate with a central section and an outer rim. I mean, this could be called a border if you want. So at this point, I have 3,946 stitches in, and I am at 52.8%, which means that since we were last together, I put in about 1,200 stitches. But look at that. Is that not beautiful? Yeah, I have to say, I really do enjoy stitching on this. While it did not go into my pattern keeper super smoothly, I'm still able to use Pattern Keeper. So then, my connecting word from this was pole. So in here, there are poles in the fence for these slats. And as such, I said, flags are flown up a flagpole. So pole it was, and I'm just going to reach to the other side, because my new project, of course, is going to be my Vivster Quaker flag. And hang on, that goes over here. So I'm using Sulky 12-weight thread on an opalescent linen that is a 36 count. There's 48,382 total stitches, and there's many people throughout the world doing their own flag, as well as many people in many countries doing the Pride flag. Now, I'm using this for my Whip into Shape 2026 with Andrew's walk schedule, which means I'm doing a little bit on this frequently. And sometimes he has long walks, and oh my goodness, Andrew, 500 steps, really? Actually, I think it would be 5,000, and then he lops off the last number. But I am going to say something you did not expect me to say. I am excited about my flag. Now, why would that be? Well, I'm over 60% with my percentages. I got to 30,000 stitches. I'm at 30,223. Since we were last on a normal floss tube, and thank you to everyone that visited the Y2K chat last week. I'm so happy that you guys liked our format and are looking forward to us chatting again. If you want to see our ATC cards and what we are sending out for Canada Swaps, please go back and watch that particular video. So on here, I finished a complete diagonal roll and got 3 Quakers completely done in the 3 weeks since we were together. So the last time we were together, these were the 2 that I was hoping to get done for the next time. I admit that I've got just a little bit of border to do here, but I didn't want to do it until I was going to go this way. And then I came up and I did this particular one, which turned out to be more background peeking through. So it didn't take actually as many hours to stitch this one. And you can see I started on this guy up here. So yes, look at that. So when I do this diagonal, we're going to end up with the stem at the end of this leaf. And this one up here will be going right into, it'll be like this on this side. So that means I've really only got like 2 more physical rows to get to the very edge of my flag here. But because I'm working diagonal, there's still a lot to do. But I'm so pleased that I can be excited about this. And I do think it's gorgeous. Sulky 12-weight thread, 1 strand. So I'm going to carefully put that over here. So now, then what did I say was my next connect word? Well, the word leaf, because there was a big leaf right in the center. And, right, okay, and then I'm like, where's my next one? I said that there are leaves on the pumpkins in my Pretty Pumpkins stitch that I'm doing for the pumpkin birthday sale to help celebrate Laura's birthday. So in here, I got my owl in and I got a chunk of, this is only the first half of the pumpkin. It's going to continue on over there. Most of this gourd is in. And what I discovered when I thought, oh, I don't think I'm going to go too much more over there. And then I looked and I was like, the edge of the pattern is right there. So there's a fair amount of a high percentage of the pattern already done. But because I'm rearranging things, I'm not really counting percentages anymore. So this is an Owl Forest embroidery design with 7 DMC colors, but I'm going to admit that I'm just taking different kinds of threads that have been supplied to me. Now, I was watching a video the other day where somebody commented, actually, I think it was Andrew, commented on picking up a group of colors at Hobby House. He lives in the States, and saying that they're not DMC, but they're Lily. And I'm like, that's where my Lily brand stuff comes from, because I've got a number of flosses that have had that name on it, and I didn't know where you got that. Well, apparently it is available in Hobby House. So this is stitched on 25 count pewter. If you follow the pattern, it's got 3,569 stitches. Yeah. Right now, I am at 2,243 stitches, which is around 62%, but we'll see. I don't really know what percent it's going to be when I finish. Now, for the I Spy challenge, Laura had something that you can find in a poem. So I went to my nursery rhymes and said, Peter, Peter, pumpkin eater, because there's pumpkins in here, and that would be my I Spy for this one. So hoping that this will be a 2024 finish in 2025, that I will finish in 2026 without too much more delay, but we will see. Now, I mentioned that I stitched the little owl at the top. And so as such, I said, well, I'm stitching an owl. So I am doing the Cute Christmas Owl by Stitches So Beautiful that was provided to us free during Advent, though that was the one day in Advent that I did not grab the free chart. So I actually paid for it, because if you didn't get it within the 24 hours, then you had to go to their actual website, not Etsy, to their website to grab the pattern. And I wanted this one bad enough that it was definitely worth it. So I'm stitching this with Sarah the Stitchin' Mommy. It's got 92 colors of DMC, and it's 137 by 123 with 12,736 stitches. Now I am doing this on Hardanger fabric, so he is not very big. And as a matter of fact, The owl itself, my focus this time was doing a little bit of the toque, but getting his tummy in with these, I just, those feathers, don't you just want to tickle them? They're just ever so cute. I will say confetti heaven here, if you want to use the word heaven and confetti together. This one definitely is using confetti, and as such is much more stitcher friendly to have it in Pattern Keeper, which I do. So I've got a lot of the owl itself done. I'm just now going to be heading out to do the greenery, finishing off the toque. Now this is part of my Threadwalker saga, which is a story/game by Steph at Wild Fox Stitchery. For this particular one, my character is Lyrica, because you know, I'm always going to be doing something musical for my characters. So I am right now at 5,023 stitches, which is 39.44%. And within a Threadwalker, that is level 26. So I have one of those things that if I'm asked to roll a die, and if it's odd, you add 100 stitches, and if it's even, you subtract 25. I typically roll the odd. I seem to end up adding, and I just don't worry about it, because she doesn't have like, you have to do this all in one day, which is good, because by the time you get down to like the 10th row, it's 1,000 stitches for every box, and yeah, we're not going to be able to do that. But I am super pleased with how well he is. And again, just like around the eyes, there's many colors of white, bluish white, grayish white, pinkish white inside his tummy, as well as the écrus and the slightly grays. So that took a little bit of time to do, but I just really love the effect. I think it's very cute, and I am enjoying doing the Threadwalker saga. So what did I say was my connect word? Scarf, because guess what? He's got a scarf on. Now the scarf is mostly in, but I still say there's probably 5% little stitches here and there that I will grab when next I do that color another place. So what did that lead to? Well, for me, it led to the project CatNap, because there is scarves and knitting elements on the Haed, and I know that Dee is putting the mock-up up here. So CatNap is a Haed artwork by Jeff Haney. It's got 89, and I'm using CXC for this. It is 315 wide by 225 high, and I'm doing this on, I'm using Easy Grid for the first time. It is starting to soften up. I still don't think it's my favorite texture of fabrics, and will likely finish the Easy Grid that I have in my house, but not necessarily purchase more, even though it's really wonderful to have everything right there. There is 70,875 total stitches here. Now I use this for the endurance challenge with Melanie of Uplift Stitches. So I didn't quite do it the same way that Melanie did. Excuse me. Melanie decided she was going to stitch monogamously during the entire Olympics, and as such, she picked a dimensions kit. I hope that you'll go over to their latest video and see she got over 15,000 stitches in, and I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous, and she's now thinking she can finish it this year, as long as she didn't burn herself out on that project. But when I did endurance, that meant that I was going to get a couple hundred stitches in every day on this particular project, because I can't stitch on every project every day. Now, in Threadwalker Saga, I am doing the character Arietta here. And this is where I go, I brought my book, because I now am like, what? So I've got a complete area here for Threadwalker. Okay, that's my cute owl. I'm looking up to see how far I've got with my CatNap. I'm at level 28 at this point. Yes. So I'm happy with that. Now, how far did I get? I started this on the first day of the Olympics, which means somewhere around February the 6th, I believe. So I've been working at this for less than a month, and this is where I've gotten to. So I tend on full coverage pieces to start in the top right and work down to get my full length, and then sometimes I work across to get all the way across the top, and sometimes I just keep working up and down. We'll see where this goes. So since the last time we were together, you can see that I got my second cat in, the beginning of a ball of yarn, and a fish toy. So I just think that the noses and the eyes on this Haed have been so nicely charted. But it is one of those things that I'm like, I'm in the middle of a cat. I wonder why I've got purple thread. But then when I hold it like this, you go, totally looks normal. So I'm not questioning the colors anymore. So yes, so I'm at 9.46%. Now, this guy, as I said, it's got 70,000 stitches. So this is not, as Haed goes, very big at all. It is a mini. And certainly on my categorization of sizes, no, it's closer to a medium than even a large. But I'm really enjoying stitching on this. And right now, Whip Warriors has the Lion and the Lamb challenge, where for the entire month of March, you aim to get at least 1,000 stitches in on your full coverage projects. And for me, she knows, I'm on Flosstube. For me, I'm rotating amongst 3. I actually do have some days where I sit down and I stitch on all 3 on the same day, but that means that I don't get to any of my other projects really. So I don't do that every day. So we'll just have to see what that adds up to by the end of the month. So now the question is, what is my next connect word? And I chose the word whiskers because cats have whiskers. And when we talk about Santa Claus, we often refer to his beard as whiskers. So as such, I decided that I was going to, dangling thread, use a gnome that has, yes, whiskers, even though Karen D discovered that gnomes within Dungeons and Dragons don't have beards. But this is the gnome that I stitched. So Katie and Laura and I have a gnome along that we're doing, and then Karen stitches gnomes, Michael stitches gnomes. Leigh makes the most cute figures. I don't know if they're really knitted or how she does it. She showed one during the Flossmas videos, and I thought it was adorable. So on this guy, I stitched 1,501 stitches. And for I Spy, I said that this includes something lucky because there is a 4-leaf clover in the gnome's hands. Now, I find these gnomes great palette cleansers after I've done something like Cute Owl, where it's almost exclusively confetti stitching. I get to stitch 300 stitches fairly quickly because it's all one color or just 2 colors. So yeah, that worked for me. So I called him Clover Gnome because I have a pattern purchase that included like 40 gnomes in the same pattern. But when I was looking through my patterns the other day, I discovered I have a whole bunch more gnomes in there to explore. So there's definitely more gnomes in my future. Now my connect word next was the word hat, because clearly my gnomes have a hat. And I did Santa Village for the hat, and I did a rose. And what I mean by that is I worked on this, got a finish, and I fully finished it before you saw it finished. So here is my Santa Village. Now this is actually quite small. You can see that without this border around, this just fits into the palm of my hand. So I didn't want to put an excessive amount of beads, etc. on this. So I just showed the very edge of some rickrack, sewed it onto the back, and then encased it as I usually do with some felt so that you don't see all my lacing and how I have attached my rickrack. But I just thought having the little bubbles of red around the outside gave it enough personality without taking away from the fact that this was quite a tiny stitch. Now I did this on a 25 count opalescent azure Lugana, and in totality this had 1,710 stitches. So if I were to do this again, I would probably not do it on 25 count. I'd probably make it bigger to 20 or 18. And there's quite a few patterns. Different people on Etsy are showing this whole idea of Santa as a moon, not always with a village and trees, but there's different things that they do with it. So if you like this, Jolly July will be here before we know it, and this would be a fun thing for you to try. So you see I'm jumping around in whether I'm showing you finishes, fully finishes, etc. So what did I do there? Well, there was, you see the moon at night and you see stars at night. Therefore, my next project that I linked to was Under the Stars, Sweet Sheep by Counting the Stars on Etsy. This is a pattern that is 174 by 224 with total stitches of 38,976, which means this is not very big at all. Although I do realize when I say that for me, that might sound like a huge amount of stitches for you, and that is fine. Each of us gets to stitch how big is right for each of us. There are 50 DMC colors, which I consider not that many for a full coverage. And I'm stitching this on just a basic white 20 count Aida. Now, I'm excited again. I got to some sheep. Or as Katherine would say, ta-da! So I got the farmhouses in. Now, some of these sheep are missing a few stitches because I am now at confetti. Oh my goodness, each of those sheeps has a lot of different colors in it. But I love the whole perspective because you get teeny tiny sheep at the back and they're getting bigger towards the front. So now you're noticing a little box here that I'm just going to spray this with water to get rid of. Within Whip Warriors, they had mini challenges for full coverage month, and one of the first ones was to pick out, I think it was 5 fresh 100 square boxes and stitch them. So I had, and you can see that I found my way down, and then I realized I wasn't enjoying coming down to just focus on this area, because on this I do cross country. I pick a color and then I find all the sheep all the way across that have it. And so I wanted to keep going with that. I wasn't finding myself happy at all picking out a square. So I'm just going to step back from the mini challenges and do the overall challenge. I know I will get more than 1,000 stitches into each of mine. So this is actually 25,000, yes, 25,022 stitches for 64.2%. So that is significant. The last time we were together for a regular video was February 13th. And I was at 18,000 at that point and 46%. So that is actually quite a lot accomplished in that period of time. And I just love the way the contouring is here to suggest the mountains in the background before you go up to the sky and the stars. This is a gorgeous pattern and it's not difficult. I mean, is there confetti in the sheep? Yes. So what I'm doing is I'm often taking the colors, not right here apparently, that are the background, so that behind the background I can travel with my multitudes of white. But this is seriously so much fun, and I do anticipate finishing that in this calendar year. So what do we have next? Well, clearly there was sheep in that pattern, so I next went to my calendar sheep. So Sheep Calendar by Lotus Lake, and I'm stitching this with Mary and Jen of Jen's Stitchy Corner. I'm stitching on an 18 count Aida that I dyed with Karen. This was using an aqua dye. You will have seen by Dee what the piece looks like when you stitch all 12 as to one total project. And I am doing them as individual stitches, and mine is a start and a finish. And I just think he's so cute, standing up there trying to get his nose up to the flowers in the trees. I have a new respect for people that love to stitch houses. This house here, as things go, if I put my hand here, I can cover that house with my hand. Some of the houses that my friends are stitching are huge. That thing took a while to do. Now, you can actually see the cute little scallopy shingles here when I pull it closer. I'm stitching with my 12 count sulky, so this is a complete conversion from what the pattern calls for. And most of the time I'm pretty close on my colors, but sometimes I'm like they did the word March in a different color, and I picked the colors out of the roof to do that. So this was so much fun. When you're finished the entire thing, it's 1,647 stitches. This particular gaffer was 1,262 stitches for March. And I do not know. Oh, I know, I put that on the wrong card. For the I Spy Challenge, one thing was something to do with the letter R. And I wrote on this card that it was going to be a round finish, and clearly no. So I want you to go back to my Santa Village and say, for I Spy, that was a round FFO, and that was the letter R for I Spy Challenge. So I am having a lot of fun with this. I've kept up, and so sometime after the middle of March, I will pop April into my charting program, and then I will start stitching the next guy. Now, how did I connect up? Words. Okay, so you could see on my sheep that I stitched in the word March. There are words on the pattern, that's how I'm connecting these. That doesn't mean that I'm always going to stitch the words though, because you know me, sometimes I don't. So I connected this to Garden of Quilts, which is a Lori Holt pattern sold at Fat Quarter Shop. It has 16 DMC colors, and I'm on a 20 count Aida called London Fog by Roxy Flossco. I am using a paper pattern, so I'm counting the stitches myself. And I'm stitching this with Sarah the Stitchin' Mommy, and I will say that Pam of Ditsy Daisy Crafts is planning to do this, but she's delaying it until it might even be next year. So many things to stitch, right? So I wasn't sure if I was going to get the next flower done because it was a bigger commitment of stitching, but I had 3 weeks. So I did get this guy done. And those of you who quilt know that these are the 8-starred quilts, quilt blocks that you can do with half square triangles. So I am now at 1,901 stitches, which means there was 700 stitches in that 4th flower. And for I Spy, this is something that has seeds because flowers have seeds. So I do think that this is adorable. And again, it's another palette cleanser because while there is some changes of color, you also have block stitching involved. So it does work out quite nicely. So again, I'm just looking at doing 1 flower a month, and I haven't even counted up how many flowers to know if there is 12 and I'll get it done, or yeah. It's just gonna go as it goes. And then the next word that I did for connecting was stems and vines, because there are stems on those flowers. And I fully finished my Bliss Autumn by Twin Peaks Primitives, because again, I chatted with Laura and she said, you know, it doesn't have to be stitching. FFOing is also good. You can still connect to it. So you can clearly see that we have stems on my flowers here. I made my own cording to go around the outside. I guess I could have connected this with sheep somewhere and with a house. So there, like when you're doing the connections, you can get really creative. I mean, with the last one, I could have said, and I'm connecting it by air because flowers grow in the air and these horse and sheep are outside in the air. Like, get creative and have fun with your connections. So I am very, very pleased with that. I put a gray felt on the back, and I believe that I fully finished that while I was stitching with friends online. So fun. And then I said there were trees here. And so there are trees on my next that I FFO'd. It's a pigeon coop design. Might be boreal forest. I noticed that Bethany Bird Stitcher has done this, and what she opted to do was to stitch to that level spot and create this semicircle, which I thought was genius. So like the other one, I did my own cording and put gray on the back, and I just found that for some of the pigeon coop that are clearly outdoors, because Max does the best stuff with his animals and outdoor scenes, sometimes adding a whole bunch of beads seems not quite the way to go. So on this one, I thought that just picking colors, and what I'm tending to use here is 5 and 8 weight pearl cotton, and then I check to see how far around a length will go, and then I multiply it by 3, and then I add a few inches to get in my handle. And when I start to put on my cording, you can't see because I've covered it up, but I start right here and I go around, and then I do an anchor here in a circle, and I come up to get and then I finish it off down here as well. So it's one long piece of cording that I have used to get my hanger as well as what's around. And if you just want to put this in an easel, it's easy enough. I mean, when I let go, it popped up, but if I took a little straight pin and pinned it down like that, it can go into an easel and just be something like a tile that's round. There must be round tiles somewhere. So that meant that I ended up with 12 connections for the weekend. And so there was 10 for stitching and 2 for FFOing. Now, excuse me, my itchy nose again. Since our last time together, that isn't the only things I have done. I have also stitched on Flosstube Friends, which is a round robin that I'm doing with Sheila of Mrs. Stitches, Lisa of Forest City Stitching, Sarah, Rocking Chair Stitcher, Kathy of Kathy's Quilts and Stitching, and Darlene of Darlene Dion Designs. And I am now caught up with what round 1 is. So I will be able, I need to go to the mail to mail off my ATC card and my Canada swaps. So I'm going to mail this to Sheila because she said she's okay to actually get it ahead of time anyway. So in this situation, I'm going to tell you that this was 3,506 stitches. It's a finish for now. And I will be putting a card in with a note that says, please stitch your dress in your favorite color. The hair can either be the color of your hair or the color you wished you had for hair. If you want to dye it pink, have pink hair. It's whatever. And don't worry about coordinating the whole project. As I once said, like when we go to a party, we're not worried that we're coordinated. We've coordinated our dress with the 3 girls that we're going to end up spending the time talking to. We just go and we have fun. So that's what I want this to be, is to stitch and have fun. So I'm super pleased with that. And until I believe I get Lisa's, that means that I have 1 less project to stitch on in the next couple of weeks, unless I suddenly discover that we are getting together to do that swap. I also stitched on Skating Santa. Okay, hang on. My cards are, oh, there we are. And he actually has skates this week. Ta-da! Look at that. So you can see that right here, this part of his tummy, this part went into Pattern Keeper. This part I'm using off of a PDF. Now I am doing it electronically PDF, but I just wanted to get this stuff in, and then I'll do this, and then I'll decide. There are some snowflakes, a tree or 2. I'm going to decide what I want to do because I can actually see this as a circular finish rather than the square finish suggested by putting in all the other stuff. And I'm quite having fun doing my circular FFOing. I've got things prepped for 3 or 4 more new ones of those, so there will be more next time. So for Skating Santa, this is a Love Poppet design, and I'm stitching this with Laura and Mary. Mary is, of course, already done. This is a 25 count even weave that is an opalescent azure. And I now have 2,498 stitches in. Now I'm using this for the I Spy Prompt Girl Scout cookie because there is a mint chocolate. Yes, and there's mint in a candy cane, and I'm sure in Santa's sack there are like chocolate bells and chocolate Santas to give to good little children. So mint chocolate. It is a lot of fun, and so I do think that this one can be a finish in the next 6 weeks, however I end up choosing to finish it. Now, this month is an exciting month with so many things that we can do. So there's going to be lots of full coverage stitching, but there's also going to be a lot of bird stitching. And we are doing this because we're invited to Stitch Birds by Melanie. Her birthday was yesterday, and a 1 day late happy birthday, Melanie. I know you're on a trip, and I know you're having a fabulous time. I didn't want to start one of the birds until her actual birthday, but we turned the calendar to March and I went, I gotta start a bird. It's March. So I looked in my digital patterns and discovered I had Quack, Quack, Honk, which is the Duck, Duck, Goose game, by Erin Elizabeth Designs. I'm stitching on 20 count parchment Aida. It's got 15 DMC colors and 1,436 total stitches. The hashtag is birthday, Sal. Ooh, I actually said it okay. A DTH is really hard to get. I actually had to practice. Is that not hilarious? So I don't know if anybody else is doing this specific pattern, but I know there's a lot of people stitching birds. And so like I'm stitching with, I would say all of my friends that I stitch with on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah, I'd say we're all doing birds somehow. And Melanie herself, I don't believe is doing this one, but so this is where I've got a crazy thread. I'm just going to, so I prepped it by starting, so this is on the other side of my gnomes. I did all of the base that there's 3 geese that are marching in boots, rain boots. Ducks and geese, I guess, because it's honk, honk, quack, quack, honk. And then I started the first duck here, but then I started not feeling well, so I don't normally leave thread, but I just had to put it down. But is that not cute? And I do think I'll be able to finish it potentially before I see you next. And if not, because I start so many other birds, hopefully by the time we get to April. I don't want to get to too many whips, but I do foresee at least 5 bird starts this month. So this has 556 stitches in for 19.36%. So I've got one boots and legs, boots, and just the rubber at the bottom of the boot over here. But I do think it's a very, very cute pattern. And yeah, really, really a lot of fun to do. And again, a bit of a palette cleanser because you have some color changes, but it's not like the confetti. The bird that I started on Melanie's birthday was the Cardinal by Cottage Garden Sampling. I am stitching this with a number of people that include Laura, Mary, Amy, Kathy, and Leigh. I did have to chart this because I find Cottage Garden Sampling, here comes Puppy again, their patterns are a little bit hard to see, so I would have a ruler and I would lay it down and I would chart all the way across, and then I would move it by one more line and I'd chart it across. I would say that the charting took over 6 weeks to do, again, because I just find, hi sweetheart, I just find the colors they use are grayscale and beiges and really hard for me to look at and know where I am. So the Cardinal itself, I'm stitching on a Lilac Mist, which is a 36 count even weave, hand dyed by Rolanda, of course. Total stitches is 8,210, 17 DMC colors, and this is the birthday Sal as well for Melanie. And I have 514 stitches in. So this was yesterday. I only did one day so far. What I'm doing here is I am putting, threading needles with 3 different colors of reds and stitching. So my own form of parking, but I don't park overnight. I finish the strand and tie off. So I'm really enjoying this. I'm going to tell you that when it came to the specialty flosses, I'm only choosing to use one specialty floss that's variegated, and I did not use the recommended. I have gone with the Threadworks, and next time I will bring down the number so that you can see, because I really liked how red it was. It didn't go quite so to the maroon because I know maroon can sometimes start looking brownish at times and occasionally purple, and that's not how I perceive a Cardinal, so I just changed it. This is one strand on the 36 count. I have found that there are clear trails of each color, so I think it's going to be a relatively easy stitch now that I've got it in Pattern Keeper. And the next thing that I did was I started Pizza Pups by PaineFree Crafts. The art is by Bridget Ashwood, and I'll have Dee pop up a picture there. Yeah, dogs. So I started this with Katie and Steph of Wild Fox Stitchery joined in, and a couple of Steph's friends have joined in as well. I do invite you to be watching Wild Fox Stitchery channel because she's fabulous. One of Steph's friends decided to do extreme cross country and pick one color. I believe it was 310, might have been 3799, and stitch like thousands of that. And then the neat thing about that is you can actually see the outline of some of the dogs already. For me, like when I looked at it, I didn't see any gridding on her fabric, and I'm like, oh my word, I'd be scared to death that I'd counted everything wrong. Clearly, if I can't do a manning that is going to only be 5 by 5, I would be atrocious at doing it that way. So I am not. I started in the top right-hand corner again, and this is how much I got finished. So we've been at this for, I'd say a week or so, probably 10 days by now. It's 446 by 335. 76 DMC colors, and in the Threadwalker Saga, I chose a new character for this one, and her name is Chanteuse, meaning girl singer when you translate that from French. So yes, Arietta, Chanteuse, and Lyrica are my characters within the Threadwalker Saga. Now this one is not as far. But I was happy, really happy that I got to 2,069 stitches. I did get to 1.38%. So this is just a few stitches short of being a BAP. So because it's only like a couple hundred short of 150,000, I'm just going to call it my BAP for the year. Now you are probably wondering what incarnation this big blue blotch is. So I'm just going to drop this and say, Dee, can you put in that corner? There you go. So now you can see this blue blotch is going to be an oven mitt because the dogs are in the kitchen for pizza. So while there was a fair amount of color changes over here, in here I did have one of the blue colors that I was able to get a few hundred stitches in, even on a single day. So I find that and this is just a 20 count even weave that was gifted to me by lovely Linda, one of my friends at the stitching group. So yeah, I'm having so much fun. So I do have 3 patterns that are full coverage for my Whip Warriors Lion and Lamb challenge. Now, also since the last we were together, I finished, but didn't fully finish my Cozy Swamp Sampler. I actually finished this the afternoon while Dee was editing my last video. So here we go. So this is a 32 count Lagana Vintage Atlantic, 6 colors of sulky, and this is the full 2,766 total stitches. And I had already done this and was so close to a finish that I just finished it off. In March, for the first day of spring, Michael and Jason of Jason X Stitch are doing a Leap into Spring sale. And you know what? This is a Nathnalu. It's not an expensive pattern, and it's an easy pattern to stitch. I use 12 weight sulky and of course my own conversion because of that. But it is so much fun to stitch that I invite you to do that. I changed the color completely of the dragonflies because the dragonflies were in a light blue that just melted into my background, and I'm not going to stitch something you can't see. I love the little flies. Look at those. So I'm going to admit to you right now that I was going to start another full coverage. I know you're thinking, what? I had found a really beautiful pattern, and I'll show it to Dee so that the pattern can go up here. That was a frog and a couple of ducklings, and you look at it and you go, yep, that's a stitching owl pattern all the way. So I bought it. There was a 70% off sale at an Etsy shop that I'm going to leave nameless. And I was really excited to kit this up. And so I got the pattern, and then a couple days later, I actually opened the pattern. I had bought it in the last like 60 minutes of that 70% off sale. When I opened the pattern, it was shown as being a dimensions kit. And I just looked at that and went, if I fall across the kit, I will purchase the kit and then I will stitch it. But it felt too much like an illegal photocopy. And so I'm setting that one aside. And I have found a different frog, which interestingly enough has glasses almost the same as this for me to stitch. It's not quite as many stitches, so it's not as big a commitment for me. I was disappointed though to discover that there are patterns that are so blatantly being sold, and you don't see that you're buying a dimensions photocopy until you've already paid. It's very disappointing, to be honest. And the last thing that I wanted to show you was an FFO that I did for my daughter. My daughter loves to stitch Tiny Modernist, and I had purchased for her a leaflet that was called For Book Lovers. And one of the options that you had was to put these motifs into almost like a clock circle. And she chose to do that, and I finished this so that she can hang this on her door. So again, I made my own cording out of colors that were basically from the stitch. Finished it with gray on the back, which you can't see from the front, but it just makes it so that when you pop it against, she puts these on her door, it just lays there and covers up what, lacing doesn't leave the cutest back, to be honest, because you're spirographing it around, but you don't get near as pretty a pattern as you do with spirograph. Now, at this moment, I am already over an hour, and I have a deck of shoutouts, so I'm not going to do them all today. I'm going to do 2 of them. Acts of Stitching, which is Edie. She had one video. I don't know when in the last 3 weeks I watched this, so she might have more. She started sewing at age 9 with a crewel embroidery kit and has been hand sewing ever since. She is a quilter also, and 3 years ago she discovered Flosstube and went, oh, look at the patterns you can get now. She has about 10 projects that she works on at a time, but 45 pieces waiting to be FFO'd. I think we all know what that feels like. So she is trying to do FFO Friday in 2026 so that something gets touched on once a week for that FFO process. The other shout out I'd like to do is Mrs. Faraway Stitches. Barbara is from Bavaria, and she's got 2 videos that I know of, might be 3 now. She loves dinosaurs and coffee, and she's got full coverage projects. She's got a little bit of everything. She's stitched for years. Though she did, like I did, for almost the same length of time, she took a 10 to 12 year hiatus from stitching to be a mother, and then came back to it when life wasn't quite as busy. And I've got to admit, she enjoys Leslie Tier patterns, and that's really good taste. So I'm going to save the rest of my shout outs for the next time, and just say the next Canada Chats is April the 12th. I will send out a reminder email because We are not doing it the first Sunday in April because that would be Easter Sunday. Next general stitching is March 10th, which is Tuesday, March 24th, and April 7th. That will be in the description box below. Canada swaps, I'm happy to say I've got over half of the swaps pictured already. So that means it won't be that long until I'm making a video to show you all the wonderful things that are making their way across Canada right now. For my moment for music, I have gone back to doing one of my own compositions out of the Emotional Roller Coaster book. I just found that I was seeking solace and contentment as I watched the news and then turned it off. And so I am now going to play for you a piece that I composed called Contentment. And thank you so much for joining me today. Words cannot express how much you mean to me and how much I hope that cross-stitching and cross-stitch friendship is for you what it is for me. I want to say a special thanks to everybody who takes even a few minutes to leave a message, either in the description box below, via email, or by stitching with me. You fill my heart. And so it is that we have to say goodbye for another time. So I hope that you had floss, fabric, and needle in hand, so that as you made something beautiful, you could make yourself happy. God be with you until we see you again. Bye-bye for now.